listening to KPFT Houston.
It's a little scary on Earth tonight. In all the darkness, it's kind of hard to see the light. We need more people with compassion and fewer commandos. Stand up for what's right on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. No more animal rodeos. Standing up for animals is a different kind of fight. When corporations keep the truth far from our sight, but the ones who see the truth can't ever let it go. The truth is alive on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. An animal-free fandango. Climate chaos, a daunting planetary plight. Temperatures reaching annual record heights. If the world ends tomorrow, I'll see you in the afterglow. The postmortem's live on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. The One Health message in stereo. Rocket leaves right now. You've got a ticket for this flight. Did you think we'd let you leave alone? The stars are burning bright. Strap in tight, ready for takeoff. Ignition, here we go. It's Monday night and time for your Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. It's time to live. It's time to grow. Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio. Let love be your dynamo.
All right, it is Monday night on KPFT 90.1 on the FM dial in Houston, kpft.org, streaming live. This is Vegan World Radio. My name is Skyjack Morgan over there. That is Dr. Crystal Heath. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You know, I am excited to get going, but first I want to invite everyone to go to kpft.org and pick themselves up. Well, you don't actually pick yourself up a Vegan World Radio t-shirt. What you do is that you generously donate $100 to kpft.org, Pacifica Radio, Progressive Talk, and they'll send you one. They'll send you a Vegan World Radio shirt, and it's great. I sleep in mine. I wear it out. I wear it to church. I wear it to protest. I wear it. So we talked a lot about monkeys, and that got us thinking about some serious monkey business. I think we had a bunch of, it was kind of a downer episode about what we were talking about, and you and I were thinking, well, maybe we should bring on a good story, encouraging people to actually do something about all the things that are happening to monkeys. And we both thought maybe Maddie Krasno should be the person to bring on. So we have her with us tonight. Do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, so Madeline Krasno is a former primate worker whose groundbreaking free speech lawsuits against her alma mater and the National Institutes of Health have been featured in the Washington Post, bringing critical attention to the ethics of animal research. She worked as a student caretaker for primates at the school's Harlow Center for Biological Psychology for approximately 2 years. An experience that exposed her to the harsh realities of animal testing. As executive director of Justify, Maddie leads a nonprofit dedicated to advancing science without human or animal suffering by empowering animal lab workers to share their stories and advocate for change. Previously, Maddie worked for a decade for farmed and wild animal sanctuaries.
Oh, wow. Well, Maddie Krasno, welcome to Vegan World Radio. We're glad to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure.
Well, you're our first guest on that we've had on the show, so be gentle on us. I think we're gonna be all right though. We were talking, just to clue you in. We were talking about all of the we were talking about monkey labs. I don't know if you heard the episode, and like I said, it was a little bit sad. I get scared, Crystal gets angry, and then we try to move forward from there. But you can you kind of give us an overview about what you're all about, or Crystal, you want to ask her
Yeah,
about
what was your, had a recent victory. So what happened there?
Well, I actually found out that about 4.5 years in the making, I had sued my alma mater, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, on the basis of free speech. And we found out that the appeal was successful. We won the lawsuit.
That's a pretty
That's
big deal.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm a free speech advocate, so I think that's really important. You took on the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the NIH for free speech. Did you face any professional risk? What were the big professional risks you took on by doing something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was definitely a scary experience overall. I mean, as someone who worked in a primate lab, I knew off the bat that it is definitely not encouraged to be speaking out about your experiences towards this, at least, not by the industry itself. And so these lawsuits came about because I had actually decided that I wanted to share my story and try to tell more people about what it's actually like to be in these facilities. I wanted this to be able to be a conversation that we could have. And so when I started kind of speaking out on social media, it led to some censorship and, long story short, some lawsuits. But yeah, in terms of the repercussions, I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen. When I
Yeah.
decided to take them on, I was pretty scared. But I had great lawyers, good protection, good support, and it's gone really well.
That's amazing. So take us back. What is the reputation of the Harlow Center for Biological Psychology, and why did you decide to work there in the first place?
So yes, I know the center as Harlow Primate Lab. That is, the shortened version of what I call it. So I'll continue to call it that here. But the Harlow Primate Lab is one of the two primate labs at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And when I was a student there, I was really interested in primate conservation. I looked up to Jane Goodall, and I had decided that I really wanted to try to follow in her footsteps. And in order to do that, I thought it would be a good experience, or well, a good idea to get experience as an undergrad working with monkeys. And at the University of Wisconsin, there were nearly 2,000 monkeys at that point. And so I think that number's changed today, but anyway, in between
You
the
think it's
two,
changed going up or going down? What do you?
well, I think it's gone down slightly, but
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely still over 1,000 as far as I know. I think maybe around 1,500, but yeah, so I didn't know a lot about animal research. I had heard of, this individual, Harry Harlow, and Harlow Primate Lab was named after him. And,
Yeah, he's kind of
I
famous, right? I mean,
yeah, he's pretty infamous
yeah.
for some horrific studies involving infant macaques, infant monkeys, taking them from their mothers and putting them, having them decide between a wire mom and a cloth mom, with the difference being the wire mom has food, sustenance. And so it's like, will the baby choose to spend more time with the wire mom that has food so they can eat versus staying with the cloth mom because it's just soft and, mimics some kind of affection. And no surprise they spent more time with the cloth mom because they just, wanted to be held and comforted.
Yeah, not just comforted and held. I mean, it's a wild experiment. They actually put scary things in the room, and they put the wire mom in there, and the monkey remained terrified. But if they put the cloth mom in the room, the monkey felt like started acting and curious and interested in the objects instead of afraid of them. I mean, this is some, I think, very sadistic stuff. I don't know. And you didn't. So Harlow, in the animal rights world, Harlow is like an infamous name, and you didn't know any of this going into it?
No, not really. I mean, I knew who Harlow was, but also back in college, I was not an animal rights activist. I was your run-of-the-mill animal lover who wanted to, go into the world and help animals, but still ate them and, was very blissfully unaware of all of the ways that we exploit them. And, we're fed all of this information about how animal research is saving lives and, the animals are treated really well. And so, I kind of didn't know what to think at that point, other than I was just this like young, impressionable 20-something, like early 20-year-old. And I figured, well, if I don't want to do the science, but I want to care for them. And if I'm caring for them, like I'm feeding them, I'm doing the things that they need to help them have decent lives, whatever. And my impression in terms of Harry Harlow was, as I learned more was, this was awful, but he's dead now.
Right,
That's not happening anymore. Like that, they're not doing that type of research anymore. So I just really went in wide-eyed thinking, I'm gonna contribute by taking care of these animals and make their lives better. And then I'm gonna go on to work in primate conservation like my hero Jane Goodall.
How'd you get the job?
Then my dreams were crushed.
Dang it. It always happens, doesn't it? They're always trying to crush your dreams. Well, how did you get into it? Like this wide-eyed teenaged woman doesn't know. And tell me how did you get the job?
Well, I applied for it. No.
Okay. Craigslist? You just went on Craigslist and got the job?
As one does. No,
Yes.
at the university, for example, there's like university jobs. You go to the university job center, and I just knew to look for student caretaker jobs at the primate labs. And again, there's technically 2 primate labs. I mean, they're under the same umbrella of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, but I was basically just seeing when a caretaker job was posted. And the first one that was posted was at Harlow Primate Lab. So I immediately applied. I was interviewed and I was accepted because my background, honestly, is in caregiving. I've been taking care of human children since I was 10 years old, still do to this day. And, also taking care of a variety of animals, generally in people's homes. But so like I already had that background as someone who is, responsible for lives. And, so it's not that they expected me to have experience with monkeys. They didn't. I think they look for other things, and thus I was hired.
And monkey children are almost exactly like human children.
Yeah, I get that joke. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you
sorry,
the number of times that people would make that comparison. They're like, oh, well, I have monkeys right here. And it's like they're like 2 like human children. And I'm like, haha.
Well, yeah, well, they both, I mean, they evoke similar emotions in me. I like the cute little baby monkeys, and I like
100%.
cute little baby humans. So to me, they're quite similar. But you got into
I don't know.
this...
I think monkeys are much cuter, but that's just me.
Yeah, you're right. For Dr. Crystal Heath, the veterinarian, thinks that baby monkeys are cuter. I mean, I guess, the world must be peopled, though. We got to have cute kids. But Maddie, at some point, you decided that you were going to speak out about your experience there. And I don't want to like skip to the chase, but could you kind of tell us what the turning point was? We only have an hour here, but maybe you could tell us like what was the turning. You got into this lab, And at some point you said, I got to tell my story. I gotta speak up. How did that happen?
Well, it actually wasn't when I was in the lab.
Oh,
It took several years because I grew up this person that was very kind of intimidated and believed that authority is authority. And so ultimately, I struggled a lot in that environment because I found myself very, like, kind of morally distressed about what was taking place in the lab. And at the same time, I'm being told by people in power, basically, whether it's my boss or, the animal research industry, that what's taking place is okay, that this is normal. And so
yeah.
I had issues while I was there, but I also kept my mouth shut because I was afraid to be labeled an activist or just kind of have assumptions made about me when what I really wanted was to just care for these animals. When you realize when you're in an environment where, your role is to take care of animals who are slated to be used and die, it's like that is a really difficult and traumatic thing to wrap your head around. And so then years later, when I had left, and I only left because I was graduating, so my time literally just came to an end, I, it was developing PTSD and realizing that I could not just kind of pretend what happened didn't happen.
Yeah.
And by kind of starting to deal with that and starting to talk to people that I could confide in and trust, I started to realize that there was power in me, not just like actually finally talking about it, but in potentially, more publicly talking about it and allowing others to at least learn from my experience.
Yeah, like maybe
Yeah.
this isn't normal, like you're saying they've normalized it. That's super painful for anyone who's going through trauma and has had harrowing experiences. Like, I mean, Crystal's told me similar things about being being in veterinary school, and how many things are normalized, and how many of the people who are young, impressionable people going through vet school, they're like, wait a second, this is normal. I mean, it seems I feel like that's an echo that I find every time we're talking about this institutionalized animal use. It's this is normal. This is how we always do it. And then you leave. Wait a second. Was that normal? Did I just have a normal? Why am I feeling so weird if this is a normal experience?
Right. And
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're the one that's like, wait a second, but you're
Yeah.
surrounded by a bunch of people who are like, no, 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 it's normal, it's normal,
Hmm.
then you're on the outside,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like
feel like the
you're
weird one.
exactly. And so it's
By
like,
design.
yeah, no, I mean it's functioning well, right? Like there's a reason that we are supposed to feel like sort of the outsider or the person that shouldn't be trusted somehow.
Yeah, it's just like growing up in a toxic family, like the same thing. When your parents are telling you, no, you're the bad guy, like dad is great, he's a nice guy, everybody loves him, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, but he's abusive.
You hear that with
And
abuse all the
I'm,
time. Every
Yeah.
type of
and
abuse, people think
you're
it's
the
normal.
one person in the family going, this actually is really toxic and abusive, and but everybody in the family is playing their role.
Yeah.
So, but you ended up doing something about this. How did this eventually turn into a lawsuit? Like, did attorneys reach out to you, or did you reach out to them? Like, walk us through how that came about.
Yeah, so it turned into a lawsuit because I uh well, what had happened was is that I had decided that I was going to go on Instagram and Facebook and start really telling my story publicly. You do the thing where you make your Instagram public.
Mhm.
And
A hard
you know,
launch, I hear it's called
it
now.
was yeah, exactly. Or maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this was soft launch, hard launch, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I had started creating some posts where I was like alluding to the fact that I had I had worked in a lab, and these were my feelings. And I started to get actually a lot of support. And so I was feeling, more confident, and I got to a point where I was ready to sort of name the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Like, this is where I worked, right? Like, it wasn't just I worked in this anonymous primate lab. I worked in the primate lab at Madison. And again, people were supportive of hearing from me. And so I started including them in that conversation. And by that, I mean, I was tagging them in my posts that were related to the lab. And I was also starting to comment on some of their like public posts on their social media, and sort of bringing the animal research labs on their campus into the discussion.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed right away is they immediately started untagging themselves from my photos, which, they're a public account, and they were allowing everyone to tag them in their photos, but then they were untagging themselves from me. And I was like, oh, like, are they allowed to pick and choose? I don't know. Okay.
Well, not just public, they're publicly funded accounts.
Sorry, yeah, public,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's our money publicly funding the
Yes.
people who are
Sure.
I have a public account, but I'm not getting taxpayer money. Like,
no, they're getting taxpayer money. But see, I didn't even know like this, this language, these details at that point.
Sure.
All I knew was that they allowed people to tag them, but then they were specifically untagging like themselves from me. And so I had gone to one of my good friends, Christopher Berry, who was working for the Animal Legal Defense Fund at the time, so this animal law group. And I had just basically asked, like, is this weird? Are they allowed to do that? And I had also let him know that, some of my comments seemed like they weren't showing up, that there was, it seemed like I was maybe being censored.
Mm-hmm.
And so Christopher had basically come back and said, yeah, I think we have a case for a free speech lawsuit. And I was like, whoa, really? And so he actually explained this whole, what you were just kind of alluding to, Sky, which is that, this is a public university getting taxpayer dollars, government funding to do what they do, which includes animal research. And so by those standards, you shouldn't be able to censor discourse about these issues, or, in my case, viewpoint discriminate, because what ended up coming of this very long process is that they were basically viewpoint discriminating on their social media forums against anything that felt animal rights.
Or not just animal rights, though. I mean, your kind of online persona, and you're a nonprofit, and your mission seems to be to show people kind of the human cost of animal experimentation as well, right? I mean, I guess it's easy to say, if people don't know what kind of content you were creating, it's easy for them to say, well, she was annoying animal rights person, we want to shut it down. But I guess, like, what were you trying to say? Like, what do you wish more people understood about these systems and how they're affecting people like you and other people who are currently working inside of them?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yeah, it's interesting because even, in most news pieces and stuff, they do actually emphasize this like animal rights perspective. And I do bring that. I recognize that. Like, I'm advocating for the animals, but I'm actually not just advocating for the animals. Like, I developed PTSD and have been struggling with PTSD since this experience, and anticipate I will for the rest of my life. You don't just like get over it. And I have connected with so many other individuals who have been a part of this industry who are struggling themselves with mental health issues and oftentimes PTSD because of this. There are so many people who get involved, especially on the care side of things, to just care for animals that are being used in this industry, and are genuinely like trying to do what they can. And yet, again, it's like, it's honestly just, it's I mean, I have a hard time putting it to words how psychologically maddening it is to be trying to put these animals first when like you're literally going against a system that's like, no, they're like they don't actually matter, like their bodies, like everything
Objects.
belongs to us, it doesn't belong to them. And you know, as someone who genuinely like believes in respecting life, human and non-human, this industry goes completely against that. And the humans who are participating are also suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And did you worry about any negative consequences from this lawsuit, bringing this lawsuit? Like it could help hurt your advocacy in some way or anything? Or did you think, no, this is all positive?
To be
Or this is
honest,
going to take me a lot of time, or oh my gosh, how scary to drag something into
yeah,
court and into the public eye. I mean, now the news is following you. And like,
yeah.
what if you lose? Then what does that mean? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to think about because I think for the most part, like in the beginning, I was just terrified to sort of be more in the public eye, and it was very strange to start like reading comments about yourself written by strangers on the internet. Um, and I mean
Yeah.
that's an ongoing thing now, and I've become more used to it, but it's very strange how much people just kind of decide that they know you or can label you a
Hmm.
certain way or understand your motives. Or, you know, I get sort of back to Sky's question, but a lot of people think that it's like, oh, this is just another animal rights activist. And it's just so much bigger than that for me. The
Yeah.
animals are always going to be like at the center of what I do, but I have so much compassion for the humans involved in this who
Hmm.
start out sort of, you know, young and impressionable or just kind of like pushed into this system for whatever reason, whether it's because like they're told like for your PhD you have to use animals and
Yeah.
you know it's okay though, like in 6-12 months you'll be done. So and it's like these have lasting effects. And so I was definitely really afraid in the beginning and didn't know, and I struggled to handle it, frankly. Like it did, you know, I would say like especially within the first year, like my mental health was not at its best. I mean, it had been worse, but it was not at its best. But over time, like you know, the support has outweighed the criticism.
Yeah.
And I think people are really starting to realize that this industry, first of all, needs more transparency, but more than that, we need better science. And this is, you know, this ain't it.
This ain't it.
Yeah,
Well, you know what this
exactly.
is, though? This is 90.1 in Houston on the FM dial. This is Vegan World Radio, streaming live at kpft.org. My name is Skyjack Morgan, and I'm here with Dr. Crystal Heath, DVM, and we're interviewing Madeline Krasno, who worked at the Harlow Primate Lab, and we're talking about her experiences in that space. Please consider going to kpft.org and making a donation to listener-supported radio. Maddie, did you ever feel like like maybe, I don't know, man, whenever I've faced massive hurdles or challenges, I think like, man, am I the crazy one? Am I the bad guy here? Did you ever think like maybe I'm the one when you're going up I mean, they're the NIH, the National Institute of Health, man. They cured, I don't know, polio or something. Like these are the big ones. These are the Go Wolverines. No, not Wolverine. Go Badgers or whatever they are over at the University of Madison. Is it Badgers? I think they're
Badgers,
Badgers.
yes.
Go Badgers. Like I'm going up against the Badgers and NIH. Did you ever feel like maybe you're the bad guy?
Um, I I like to proudly say now it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
And you know, I kind of like to
Yeah.
to celebrate that.
Hmm.
Thanks to the Honorable Taylor Swift.
Own
But
it.
yeah, no, I mean, it's scary. It's like I don't want to. I feel a lot more confident about things now, but I think it's I to this day I still don't know if I signed an NDA. Like, and this is a common experience in the lab, that people may not know whether or not they signed NDAs. There might be sort of forms they sign that kind of mimic an NDA, but aren't sort of officially, and they're not kind of informed upon what they've signed.
Yeah.
And so that was one of my big fears, is that, like, am I going to get sued right back? Like, am I saying something that I shouldn't be? And by shouldn't be, I mean that, like, legally I can't say, because shouldn't be, I mean, I think everything I'm saying is important, because I think that my experience is important. I think that the experiences of other individuals who have worked in these facilities is, like, it's imperative that they are sharing these if they feel comfortable doing so. But I also understand how scary it is to go up against this industry, and how you never know what they're gonna kind of come back with to protect themselves, because this is a very, very lucrative industry.
And doesn't every whistleblower sign an NDA right before they blow the whistle? I mean, it feels like
I'm going through the same situation where it's like, I don't know if I signed an NDA, and I really want to ask that person if I signed an NDA, but I also don't want to talk to them. But I don't want to tell your lawyer what to do, but you could potentially file a public records request asking University of Wisconsin if you signed an NDA, and they should be able to tell you yes or no. And if they say no, I think you're fair game to, do what you want. But
I mean, at this point, there's really nothing that I haven't already said. So I kind of feel like it's one of those things where, I don't know if they would come back and say, like, oh, we've heard you tell this story 17 times about how, you had to help euthanize a monkey on New Year's weekend. Stop talking about it. Like, well, the thing is that I'm not sharing. I know a lot of times with these labs, they're kind of concerned about, like, trade secrets, or really, like, kind of specifics about certain research studies that maybe wouldn't be public. But from the perspective of a caretaker, I didn't know stuff like that. Like, I knew very little about the research taking place. What I share is really about my experience caring for these animals and what I remember of those interactions. And it's very little about actual individuals or naming any individuals.
I mean, I think you're safe. I don't give legal advice either. I think you're safe. After all, they'd still have to sue in order to collect anything if you violated NDA. They'd have to, the burden of evidence is on them. So I say anyone who signed an NDA out there, blow that whistle.
Sky is not a lawyer. Don't listen to him.
Blow that whistle.
Only
I said not legal advice.
Lawyer.
Blow that whistle. We need transparency in this. We need people out there talking.
But you need to protect yourself. I mean, it is important to, as much as I want the truth out there, I also really want people to consider themselves in this, because you've got to take care of yourself and your mental health too. And so getting a lawyer, like speaking with a lawyer who is truly considering your safety and needs, is important in moving forward. And in my case, I felt really comfortable with the Animal Legal Defense Fund based on what my situation was, but it could be different for others. So
so did this lawsuit take you personally a lot of time, or did the attorneys do most of the work? For anybody who's, like, thinking about going this route, like, they're like, oh, but I got a family, I got a job, like, will they have to devote a lot of time to this? What can they expect?
What took the most time was during discovery, I would say. Well, also prior to discovery, just sort of like giving the facts that were needed and reading over things that lawyers would draft to make sure, like, yes, this is saying what feels to be the truth for me, because obviously the lawyers put things together, but you want to make sure that it represents you. But in terms of discovery, which is when basically both sides of the case have to hand over anything that's relevant to the case. And what I mean by that is I had to go through all of my texts, all of my emails, screenshots from or take screenshots from all of my posts so that all of this that was relevant to the case would be given actually to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So like they got to read through, these messages where it would be like me and a friend going back and forth like, hey, can you see this comment? No, you can't. Okay, how about now? Can you see this comment? No. Oh my gosh, so they would just have like all of this, but over time a lot of that piles up. So that was hours and hours and hours of work. But was it worth it? Of course. But know that like that's part of the legal process is going through kind of everything and pulling out what's needed. On the other side of it, we were sent email conversations that talked about me, and it was like people in the animal research space at the university talking about me or in their communications department. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Can we see all those eventually? Like all those emails and stuff about you? Because those are always fun. I love looking at personal emails.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you get stuff in Discovery that it's
fair game.
I'd have to ask my lawyers because I'm not honestly sure if it's like you can actually just then take it and put it elsewhere. Like I know they're allowed to use, my lawyers themselves are allowed to use it in certain cases. Like in the press release, even they talk about one of the things that they discovered because of Discovery, which was that the way they phrase it is documents further revealed that university staff monitored Krasno's social media account and discussed creating fake profiles to covertly attend one of her presentations. And that was real. So like I don't know exactly how they decide what, to share and not share, but we found that out.
I mean, those would be some fun social media posts to like see what they're writing about you. So I think you should ask your lawyers if you can share those because I want to see them all.
Well, it's illustrative to what links they're willing to go in order to silence people who just want to speak the truth. They don't want to.
Yeah.
If what they're doing is for the greater good and they're using public funds, then they should be doing it in the most transparent way possible. We should all be having this conversation and saying if this is something we want to put our money toward. If this is what you're doing and it's for the greater good of us all, then play it with your cards on the table. Let's know what's going on. Why be secretive about it?
Right. Well, and I know like in one email there was a point where like one of the individuals, I won't even say who, said that and this is someone like involved though, like who was involved or is still involved, I'm not sure, in animal research at the university, and made a comment that I was speaking untruths. Not lies, but untruths.
That's lawyer talk for lie. Yeah.
And that I'm not gonna lie, it's like it's triggering to read that because it's like these are my personal experiences. Like I have PTSD from this, and
it's gaslighting. That's what gaslighting is, right?
Right. Like part of this is not true. Like the part where like I had a baby, like an infant have a seizure and die in my hands, or is it the part where I was bit by a macaque and then like had my first panic attack because I convinced myself I was going to have herpes B and die. So like these are like real, very scary situations that we are put in and that are normalized with, in this case, very dangerous animals. I mean, I understand that not all animals used in research are wild monkeys, but in this case, there's a lot at stake, and that really did upset me. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm able to kind of laugh it off, but at the same time, I look at it from the perspective of if I was someone else who's kind of newly coming out of this, and the fact that like I want to protect them too, because I know how like upsetting that is to just be like, oh, like you're not really telling the truth, or you're misconstruing what happened, or you're exaggerating, whatever it is. It's like,
Oh my gosh, that rings so true to me because I have been called a liar by animal rights activists and by my colleague veterinarians, and it's the most frustrating thing because I do everything I can to be as honest and have evidence to back up everything I say. And
Yeah.
when people are just able to say, no, she's a liar, she has an agenda,
Hmm.
that is so
Yeah.
maddening. And how many people trust these people who are calling me a
Right.
liar?
Right.
And it makes you feel so powerless.
Yeah.
And
Because only
you're
the
like,
powerful can say something like that about you. You have
yeah,
to have
Right.
power to call someone else a liar and be believed out of hand.
hmm
They know
Right.
that they're holding all the power. I mean, this is this classic way to hold on to power. Anyone who comes at me, they're a
Yeah.
liar, dismiss them out of hand,
yeah,
Of
and
course.
and the multitudes will normally go along with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
okay,
I think one of the, I can give you actually an example where, again, I don't have this all like written in a way where I'm like, this is exactly what they're referring to. But one of the things that I often describe about my experience that Wisconsin in the past has then like responded to an article that has quoted me on it and said that I am giving like misleading information or something along those lines is that I talk about the fact that on the weekends, two of us student caretakers, sometimes three if there was someone in training, but mostly two of us were responsible for caring for the 500 plus monkeys that were in this lab. And so, what I
mm,
mean by that is that it was two of us on site who had to, give out any medications that were needed, do health checks, feed everyone, check to make sure waters were working, take care of any rejected newborns that needed like feeding, that kind of thing, deal with any sort of chaos that was taking place, monkey escaping, things like that. Then we would, after kind of the morning of doing that, we would go and call our supervisor who was not on property and report back whatever had happened. If a veterinarian was needed, we had to call them. They weren't there, and that could take hours for them to arrive. And then in the afternoon, or after that call, we would then go and hose down all of the rooms and cages. Again, this is 500 plus
yeah.
monkeys.
Imagine 500 children, or
It,
and that's what they
500
are.
of any 500 hamsters seems like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, no, I mean,
500
too many to
dogs.
deal
It's
yeah,
with.
just
Yes.
unimaginable.
it's ridiculous. And so, and the weekends, it's two of us students. This is like 20 to 23-year-olds
Yeah.
that are responsible for these these wild animals that are in like cages barely bigger than their bodies. And there would always be, something that would happen, of course.
Mhm.
And so I was just describing this, what I literally just said to you. And then the university comes back with a statement to one of these articles and basically says that I'm being misleading and that there's a robust team taking care of these animals made up of vets and full-time staff, and because I was a student caretaker. So, and it's like, yeah, there is a robust team, but on the weekends there weren't. It was
Mhm.
two of us students, the vet wasn't there, our supervisor wasn't there. Like they basically wrote this very nice paragraph that aimed to act like what I said wasn't true. And it's like, well, during the week there's full-time adult care staff, but not on the weekend. So it's like, don't go around telling people I'm lying. I'm not
Don't
lying,
gaslight me.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No one likes to be gaslighted. So after all of this, all these experiences you've had, you've started your own nonprofit, Justify, and it's such a unique and needed organization. How does it help people still inside the system to begin to process what they've seen and maybe what they've done? And why is that important? What are the goals of Justify? Maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so, all of this speaking out led to me connecting with other individuals who had been a part of the industry and realizing that what was most helpful was when we were able to talk to each other, and especially because um, the general public, of course, does not know what it's like to really be in these facilities. And we also face a lot of criticism from the animal rights, animal protection community, even if we had been involved in it in the past. I get asked all the time, like, how could you have done this? I would have left immediately,
Mhm.
all of these kind of accusations, which I'm happy to answer. I just,
It's like
tell
if your
it,
husband was abusing you, why didn't you just leave?
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
if you hate your job, why don't you just leave?
yeah,
It's like,
it's so interesting because I think sometimes we're able to sort of pretend that the world isn't as complicated
mhm.
as it is, and it's just not that simple. Like, the animal research industry is a very well functioning system, and it's just not as easy. There's someone who had been a part of the industry and actually was working with chimpanzees back when they were in research still. They were asked a question that I get asked all the time, which was like, why didn't you just leave?
Yeah.
And their response was, well, my friends can't. Like, it's not
Mhm.
fair because, like, I can't leave when my friends can't. Basically saying, like, I care about these animals, and if I leave, I'm deserting them, like, any chance they have at sort of, someone who really cares for them and is trying to advocate for them, even though it's sort of like this helpless situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
paid position too at the end of the day, right? I mean,
Right.
it's a job. Everyone knows how hard it is to leave a job under capitalism where you're working, by threat of starvation. Like there's the average American I read, they're $400 away from the poorhouse. Like if they
Yeah.
have a $400 emergency, they're out.
Yeah.
Their car breaks down. They are done.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the fact that there's people working in excruciating situations shouldn't surprise anybody. And the fact that they're sticking with it, it's weird. Hasn't everyone had that? Am I crazy to think that everyone's had a job that they were like, I don't know why I stick with this. I just keep going, I keep showing up, I keep doing it.
Yeah, people I think love to blame others for their problems, but they never think about their own life experiences and how
Yeah.
they've been there too. Like think back
Mhm.
into your own life where like we've all
Yeah.
had that experience where we stayed in a relationship where we should have left. We stayed at a job where we should have left sooner.
Right.
And for some reason there's a lot of people just like it feels a lot easier to blame somebody else and like judge another than it is to like look at our own experiences and empathize sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think too, it's like if you really can't see that, then maybe we need to talk a little bit about privilege. Because if maybe you're
Well,
just living a life where you were able to just say, nope, I'm not doing that. No, I'm doing this. Like, I'm able to make these choices that feel good to me, and I've never had to. And I mean, I find that hard to believe that you haven't had any sort of experience like this, but
or
I
maybe
get
they have
that.
had them, they're just unaware. I mean, I always
Right.
I've got that Carl Sagan. I've been paraphrasing that quote by Carl Sagan that says, because mostly of MAGA and a lot of stuff that's happening politically in the world, but like it seems that people are so tribal and so cultish these days because they're involved in the bamboozle. And Carl Sagan's like, sometimes it's so painful to admit that you've been bamboozled. You
Yeah.
just keep going along with the bamboozle. It's less painful to just keep getting bamboozled than it is to admit to
That's so
yourself.
real. Yeah.
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 It's painful. And I try to meet people, especially sometimes this certain, this is not a political show, but politics sometimes can be so acerbic and so caustic. It's hard to meet them with grace. And that's the thing I got to keep in mind. And it's really difficult when it's so painful to admit that you've been had, you
Mhm.
Yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure. And so I guess I say all of that, to get us back
Yeah.
to Justify, where it was like we realized, me and the my other two co-founders, that there was a space that was needed for people like us who had been a part of this industry and needed community that was safe, that would allow us to talk about our experiences, that would allow us to feel like we aren't these outcasts or sort of, you know, these people who are just like so flawed, we fell for it or whatever it is. And not only that, but just that like that we can counter the normalization that this industry has put out there, that doing animal research, what we're doing to animals is normal. Well, Justify is sort of countering this in the sense that we are saying, if you're questioning this, if you are traumatized by this, if you are struggling with this, whether or not you're still experiencing it or you did it in the past and just haven't dealt with it, talked about it, that's normal. And there's somewhere for you to go with that and to, you know, heal and productively try to advocate for, you know, a better scientific future. So that is really, you know, at its core, what Justify is. It's a place for people like me who need a safe space.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Everybody, I think, dreams of starting their own nonprofit, or a lot of people do. And I always say, don't do it. Help the existing nonprofits. What has been the hardest part of starting your own nonprofit?
Yeah, well, I will say to that, I am the exact same. I'm like, if you fit in with another nonprofit and can work with them, that is great, because, you know, organizations always need more help. But then I also think, like, if your idea doesn't exist and it needs to exist, then
that's you. And I'm so glad Justify exists for that purpose.
Right.
But it's hard.
And right back at our honor. It's like these are there's overlap in what we do for sure, as we know. And they're both kind of coming at these very powerful industries that are filled with a lot of humans with really good intentions that often get sort of sidelined by industry things.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, you know, Justify is a dream come true in the sense that I am doing what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. You know, it's just, it's healing in a way. It's also traumatizing in a way, but it's mostly healing. Every time I speak with or hear from a new individual who's been a part of this industry or is a part of this industry and says, you know, like, this is the first time I feel seen as a former lab worker. Yeah. That was something that someone said. It's like, oh, this is, you know, it's like, it's just that confirmation that I'm doing what I need to be doing. But that being said, it's not, you know, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Yeah. It's so much work. It's feeling like you don't have enough hours in the day ever. It's feeling like, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to catch up. And you're never catching up.
Nonstop.
And then, you know, trying to make the case that you should be paid to do this work, because guess what? You have to be paid to live in this world. Yeah. And, you know, I did this work for a year unpaid, and I am at that point where it was like, I'm barely surviving.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, even when you have a really unique, great idea, it doesn't mean that, like, all of a sudden you have a paycheck. So, you know, there's a lot to it. And of course, as I know you aren't, Crystal and Sky, you know, none of us are doing this for a paycheck. Like, it's like, if we were doing it for a paycheck, we'd be doing something else. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to, you know, be able to survive and do the work that we do, because it costs money. It costs money to go and give talks and go to conferences and build this community. So it's a lot of work. And, you know, having a great partner, great co-founders, a great board is going to be key in all of this. You want to really think about your team, because doing it alone, I mean, it's even with a small team, it's difficult. But doing it alone, oh my gosh. So Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta just find your people and learn as you go in terms of trying to take care of yourself. I'm always gonna tell someone, put yourself first, and then I'm going to struggle to put myself first. So
Yeah. So, we've got a few minutes left. What's next for Justify, real quick, and then we'll find out how people can find you.
yeah, so there's a lot happening for Justify right now. I'm actually headed to Rio in a week to go to a
Yay.
big conference taking place. Something I didn't even know existed before, I don't know, the last year. It's called the 3Rs World Congress on Alternatives and Animal Use in the Life Sciences. And it's like 900 people from all over the world working in
Oh, wow.
alternatives to animal research itself, but who are wanting to really implement 3Rs of reducing, refining, and replacing animals. So this is going to be a really great place for Justify to do some networking. I'm presenting a poster. I'm also giving a 15-minute presentation at a satellite conference there. So there's a lot
Connecting with
coming up.
key people.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and then a little bit more exciting is in the coming months, there's actually a documentary coming out that is featuring me and the work of Justify, like a lot of people from the industry sharing their perspectives about working in the industry. And I think it's really going to be a game changer in terms of elevating the perspective of people who have been a part of this industry and why, these perspectives actually just further the need to move away from testing on animals and towards human relevant research.
That's so
That's so
important.
exciting.
And so where can people find, if they want to follow you or know more about what you do, where can they find Justify?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media. Our handle is at When We Justify.
When We Justify.
Yeah, so instead of Justify, it's When We Justify. And then our website is whenwejustify.org.
Wonderful. Awesome. I thank you so much for talking with us, Maddie Krasno. I really appreciate you coming on Vegan World Radio. We are reaching the end of the hour, but if you have missed any of the show, you can always hear it again on the archives at kpft.org. And you can find out more about Dr. Crystal Heath's important work at ourhonor.org. And I'm Skyjack Morgan on YouTube if you want more of me.
Thanks for being here, Maddie.
Yeah, and please tune in again for Vegan World Radio next Monday at 7 from 7 to 8. Ocean and Patrick will be hosting. Thanks to Blue, our sound engineer, and do keep listening for more progressive programming here on KPFT 90.1 FM, Pacifica Radio in Houston, Texas.
Standing up for animals is a different kind of fight. When corporations keep the truth far from our sight, but the ones who see the truth can't ever let it go. The truth is alive on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. An animal-free fandango. Climate chaos, a dog and planetary plight. Temperatures reaching annual record heights. If the world ends tomorrow, I'll see you in the afterglow. The postmortem's live on Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. The One Health message in stereo. Rocket leaves right now. You've got a ticket for this flight. Did you think we'd let you leave alone? The stars are burning bright. Strap in tight, ready for takeoff. Ignition, here we go. It's Monday night and time for your Vegan World Radio. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. It's time to live, it's time to grow. Vegan World Radio, Vegan World Radio. Let love be your dynamo.
KPFT Programmer Profile.
This is Michael Woodson, and my show is Living Art. We interview local artists looking at art relative to the pursuit of freedom and peace, and how artists contribute to the next better world.